The next module that we are going to learn about is called the peer review. Peer review is right in the middle in between the compliance and source repository module on the top. Click to access, and when you first access the peer review screen, you'll be able to see the previously created peer reviews, the list of them. And from here, you're going to have to create your own new one, or you can, actively participate in the peer reviews that's ongoing that includes your presence. From the first look, what you are supposed to know about this module is probably mostly concentrated on this part here. This means that there are two different materials that are used for peer reviews are registered to this specific peer review, and the peer reviews that is not actually ongoing by taking the workflow, which is given by the SILKROAD system defaultly, are indicated in gray colors, but the one that is in active situation is indicated in colored icon. And you'll be able to see the comments that's left. There are 19, and the bugs reported, there are 8 of them, and the whole progress of the peer reviews is 17%. This means the comments left by the users or participants are being reviewed by 17%. So basically, when you are participating in a peer review, this means that you can vote on certain personnel's comments, telling them that you agree or you disagree with their opinions, and you hope them to rework on the comments that they have written, or the writings of the requirements, or any other documents that they have written has to be reworked in some way. And by looking onto the right side of the screen, there are participants indicated in the middle of the row, and the column owner tells you who started this peer review and how much time has spent since the initiation of the peer review, and if there's any meeting time assigned, appointed, then there will be time indicated, and the whole progress of current peer review and the deadline. You can also choose deadline, the finish date of the peer reviews, whether it is done or not. Okay, from now on, let's create a new peer review to take a look at the detailed functions that we provide. And let's go through the whole process of the peer reviews until we reach the very end stage of document review. Okay, go to the left top side and click the new peer review button. And here pops up the new peer review creation screen. Choose a name and priority types, and type in the fields with the asterisks, the fields with asterisks, and there's a field called access. If you choose participant, only those who are invited to this peer review by this menu down here can do the activities related to the peer review item. But if you choose anyone, then including the participants, anybody who's participating in this project, and also join the peer review item to leave comments and any other activities. And you can also leave some memos regarding or stating the features of this peer review. And from this menu down here, you will be choosing the materials from the right side here, from document list or source list, or from the import button here, that the function that provides functionalities to enable you to import files from your local PC. And the part side, this one provides a HTML editor so that you can type in anything you like, or you can also scrap some particular parts of documents or writings from other materials and paste it here to register it to the system as a peer review target. Okay, let's do this one by one. So I'm gonna choose material called capture training sample from requirement. Uh, Drag it to the left side and a source repository file. Anything you like to use. And maybe I can go ahead and choose the import button. But when you are importing files from your local PC, only PDF format or Word format can be imported. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, here is the document just added, and click the part on the right side. Drag some part from other websites or from some documents and just paste it in and register and entitle your document, your part document, and the material will be automatically included to the material list on the left side. Okay. Next part is choosing the participants. Oh, there's one more thing that I need to inform you. That this button here, the project button, has exactly the same function as this one, the document list. So this means that you are going to use some documents from your project list, which is this one. So if you click the project button, the document list will expand. Okay, let's move on to the participant selection. You can just simply drag and drop. And when you're done with these peer review settings, then now you're ready to move on to the next step by clicking the OK button on the right bottom side. Click it to proceed. Okay, then the screen will automatically turn into this one, the one that you're seeing. And the very first thing that you need to do is to activate the peer review workflow. The reason why we have to activate the peer review workflow first is because there's a small rule that we suggest to the users that only in the certain moment of workflow stage we allow users to modify the documents. So let's just take a look what it means. Alright, the first peer review on the list is the one that we just made. Click the I button, and here is the information in regards to the sample peer review. You can check it real quick and go to the workflow button on the left top side to proceed to the in review activity. Okay, now it's prepared to be peer reviewed. For the convenience of the lecture, let's just use the capture training sample document because there are something that I need to show you. And click it when the play button is activated. Okay, this is the peer review area where you can leave comments, where you can also vote about your idea, whether a certain comments to be reworked or accepted, and you can also leave the information about the defects that you found from the documents, something like um, misplaced or typos, or if you think the detail of the contents is quite inferior, then you can also leave or defect information regarding that. Okay, let's start with leaving some comments directly onto the PDF document. Just drag a specific sentence to leave a comment regarding that, and leave your comments by writing in your idea and alert other users by using some specific colors, and you can also leave a defect info. If it's a major one, then choose major and choose type, saying that it's somehow invisible, and save it. Alright, then the comment is left on the left side. But I think you must be start being curious about the list that you didn't even made before you start the peer review. These items are already listed to the functional annotations. It's because you have already registered these items through requirement management module. So this is the reason why I ask you to choose this sample as the peer review target. So if you register specific requirement items or test items, then the system will automatically perceive those parts as a peer review items too, so that users do not have to go back to the requirement document and to see which items are registered and which are not. Okay, let's quickly move on to the next step, the part that you collaborate with other peers. As you can see, once another user or some other users log in, then you'll be able to see the pop-up button on the left top side of the screen. This pop-up will be provided in real time. So basically, the peer review is so once they leave the comments regarding the same document, just like this, there's a message saying highlight has just been made. And once you click on it, you'll be able to get to that comment directly and see what the contents is about. And some other information included also can be seen. And if you click on it, you'll be able to directly get to the point where the comment is made. And as you can see, the voting buttons, they're also being shared with you and other peer reviewers. But the voting system is not in real time, so you may have to sometimes press that refresh button on the left top side. And just like that, uh, the status of votings are being gathered that way. And the reason why the bars are not filling up so well is because they're the filling up proportion of the bar depends on how many people are participating in this project. So if there are like 7 different people are participating in, then only one of the seventh of the progress bar will be filled up if only one person voted for it. So that is why the progress bar is not filling up much. And also, if other users leave comments or reply on your comments, that is also left right under your previous comments. It will also be informed by the system. If you think you can accept them as they are commented, or if you feel like that these document works are all have to be reworked, then you can either click on each and every registered comment, or you can go to the top ribbon menu to select accept all or rework all. I'm gonna say I'm gonna accept them all. Now quickly look onto the right side. The full amount of time that's been used to do the peer review here recorded after the whole peer review is done, and will be indicated in status window where you can see from here. We'll get back to it later. This could be activated in case you know the participants of the peer reviews in real time. So let's say you decided to work with 6 different people, and you let them know the timer will be on from some point on, and you confirm them all logged into the peer review and draw a start line there, and wait for them to fully join. And after all, if you click the play button to initiate the peer review, the time of the 7 people will be all summed together, so that later on, when you are submitting this report to a higher chain of command or to a certain organization where they have started the project, so for those cases, you'll be able to use this specific function that to prove that your group of people or researchers have invested your time in peer reviewing this certain document. And lastly, let's go to the left side of the screen where the highlight and pin and hide buttons are at. If you, the default mode of your peer review commenting um, is selected as highlight. Highlighting means that you are going to highlight a certain part of the document, a specific, like a specific word or a specific sentence. And the pinning means that you would like to leave a comment on a certain coordinates. Like you want to leave a comment on the cockpit, the windshield of the cockpit, then you may click here to leave your comments. So these two are that different. Highlight is for the texts, pin is for a certain coordinates. And if you hide them, then you can see the original document. And once the whole peer review of current status in current workflow activity steps, then you can click on the finished button on the right, the checkbox button, to stop the clocks. And this status will be applied to other information boxes. Okay, let's just quickly close this window. This will be automatically saved. The whole progress will be saved, so you can just close it. If you go to the information window of the list and click the I button, scroll down, and on the participants window, participants area, you will be able to see the review status of each person and their all ongoing status. But if you click on a certain cell of a certain person, then you'll be able to see his ongoing progress. So you must be remembering that I chose the finished checkbox button for this document review. So if I try to see the ongoing status of my peer review documents, then per each document, the status of my review will be indicated respectively. If everyone participating in this capture training sample peer review click the finish button, then the review on this one will be indicated as finished. And if you click on this material, then the status of each personnel will also be indicated. So this is how you use that finished check button function to manage your peer review status. And the statistics will be accumulated as the peer review project is developed. And for the next part, you're gonna have to go back to the workflow function to let's click on it to operate it so that you can move on to the next activity of the workflow. So when the workflow activity step is arrived at the InWork status, some of the functions are locked or activated compared to the previous steps. Let's see the difference, how it's going to change when you arrive at the InWork activity. So before we toast the token to the InWork activity, let's just turn it off and take a look at the current status of InReview. So in review, as you can see, the adding materials button is inactivated. So in this workflow activity step, you're supposed to be fully dedicated to reviewing and leaving your comments to the peer review materials that's previously decided. But you can still erase the materials that's been selected, and you can also add or delete participants from this step. Okay, now you've seen the features of current workflow activity step. So let's just move on to the next activity, the InWork activity, to see the difference from the previous menu. Assign. Okay, now the status has changed to rework. And let's open up the information window again to see the difference. Okay, so the difference from here is the activation of the buttons, the different activation of the buttons. So from here you can add more material, but you cannot add any participants. The reason why the material adding button is activated is very important because that you can rework on your current document, and then by pressing this button here, you can add an updated version of the same document that you've been working on. So the version here is fixed from the one that you have chosen in the first place. But if you have finished your rework on the document based on the peer review work and you update it to the server and the version is updated to 9, but the version here is still 8, and you hope the peer review materials to be changed to version 9 before you can pass it on to your superiors to enable them to review on the reworked documents, then you're going to have to quickly click this button to add the new version of the same document. Okay, then let me show you how it is going to work. All right, let's go to this document to make the modification so that we can update it to version 9. You can do it here. You can do it here by pressing the I button. You can activate the docs. Okay, let's say you are going to make the corrections onto the first one, and let's just say that you modified it and you publish it to the server to apply the changes that's made based on your peer reviews. Okay, now it's successfully done. Turn it off. And you refer to the peer reviews and you've done referring to it and close it. And now you have to upload the modified document to the list of the materials. Now you can do that. Let's press add button. To drag and drop the changed modified document from the list. You see, if the same exact document from your list has changed and updated to a new version, it's indicated in red color text. So just quickly drag and drop, and the window for filling in the hours and minutes of your rework time is provided. So all you got to do from here is just inputting the time that you have spent for the modifications of the documents that we just opened. Let's say it only took me for an hour. Okay, now it's added, and click OK to confirm. Then the system will automatically receive this signal as to upload the current peer review material to a new version. Okay, now the version 9 is updated. So when you move on to, let's just quickly open up the workflow button window. When you arrive at the next step, your superiors, the decision makers, will examine the documents that you have worked on, and they will decide whether it is to be reworked or accepted once again. So basically, the whole process of peer review goes through 2 review steps. Your peers will first review, and then secondly, it is modified, and lastly, it is reviewed again by the decision makers. So if there are any additional things to be modified, then the decision makers will toss the workflow activities back to the in-work status so that the reviewers can make some additional modifications to the documents according to the comments and the reviews that decision makers have made in this step, which means when the activity arrives at the in-confirm activity, then the decision makers can open up the peer reviews from this menu here to make to apply their comments and decisions to that document again, the menu of the in-confirm peer review status is separated from the one that the ordinary peer reviewers have done in this activity. So, based on their comments, the superiors and the decision makers' comments, the reviewers can rework on this step here once again. And they toss it back to the superiors once again for their confirmation. And when the whole work is done, the decision makers will pass the activities onto the end stages of the workflow so that they can close up the peer review. So that is what is going to happen from this point on. So, okay, let me say that I am the one who modified the documents from this step. And now I am about to pass it to the superiors or decision makers. Okay, now the status has changed to verifying. The verification job will be done by the decision makers. Then the decision makers, once they are allocated to this step, they will be opening up the material to start their own review work. So as you can see, the previous review works are now applied to this step of peer reviewing, because only decision makers will start to vote and leave their comments for these peer reviews. And for them specifically, they can review the report from this menu here. But for version 9, there's no reviews done, so there won't be any reports generated. But if you select version 8, then the report for the previous peer review works that's done by the lower level peer reviewers will be indicated, and the data will be gathered in this report. So let's just quickly say that these works that's done by the lower level peer reviewers, they're all acceptable. And let's just say there's no comments to be made by the decision makers or superiors. And we have decided to move on to the very end stage of the peer review. So from here, we're going to end up the peer reviews. Assign. Then the peer review that we just closed up will be passed to the menu on the bottom, the completed review. If you expand the window, then there will be completed list of peer reviews will be provided. We've gone through a set of peer review activity. After when you are done with the whole activity, you can also review the status of the peer review by going back to the material and by clicking on the status tab here. The reason why it's in gray, the reason why these are all in gray color says it's in pending position is because, as you can see, the participants I've invited, they did not finish their work from here, but you can still pass it on to the next level of workflow. That's the flexibility of the system. So when everyone has voted, and if the over 50% of people have accepted, then this will be indicated as accepted results. And in status, there will be one, or if there are some more of them, those numbers of the votes that's fully filled up will be indicated in different way, like accepted or rejected or reworked or pended. And on the right side, the part that says defect severity is prepared to indicate if the defect that's been indicated by the users, if that defect is a major or minor. And on the right side, the defect types are based on the defect severity that the users chose from the menu of the defect. So if there are more than two kinds of defects selected by the users, then the graph will be, differentiated in many pieces. Okay, down below, there are the participant lists. What was their role and how much time they spent on peer reviewing, and the status of the vote that they have made, and the comments and the defect counts they have left, and the annotations status that also shows the whole progress of each votes that have made. The number on the right side in gray color indicates how many people have not voted for this annotation. So let's turn it off. And look for some auxiliary supportive functions for the convenience of users. Look on the right side. There's a function called Defect Customize. So as you remember, there were various defects that you could have chosen when you uh, chose to leave a defect comments. You can add the types of the defects, or you can also delete some of it if the types does not match the policy of your peer review project. And on the right side from the defect customize, there's a button called setting. So setting has 4 different fields. The first field indicates the idle time of the peer review participants to pause their clock of peer reviewing. So if you would like to use the idle time, and if you assign the time as 1 minute, then since you stopped moving your keyboard or mouse for a minute, then the system will automatically stop your clock of peer review. And the next field is the font size. You can change the fonts of your comments that is written on the left side of the screen, and the default size that's provided is set to 11. And if you click the defect required checkbox here, then when you're leaving comments, you're gonna have to choose the defects before you can finish leaving your comments. Okay, so far was the entire major functions that's provided by the peer review module, and I hope you enjoyed it. And the next module that we are about to confront is white box test module. And the white box test module includes static analysis results and unit test at the same time.